December 12th, today. We need to approve the minutes of this November 28th meeting. Any corrections, changes?
I have made the corrections that were sent to me by my editor.
I'll move that we accept the minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You have an editor?
I have an editor.
Isn't that nice?
Two editors, actually, but the one.
Very professional here.
Good, good.
I always like that. Don't be shy. I especially like it before the meeting.
Okay. Informal, Berkshire Gas. Is anyone here from Berkshire Gas? On the screen.
Mr. Pesci was supposed to be back with answers to the question, but.
If he shows up, we'll go back to him. Mass DOT.
I don't think we're going to hear about that for a while,
That one's on hold.
in case they come up with something.
John. As of 3:36, when I found that you had sent me an email and it was 10 after 4, there was no way I was going to make it.
Sorry, when look. But I have strong suspicions that the delineation on 13 Rattlesnake Mountain Road is incorrect, number one. Number two, I never received a certified notice that any of this stuff was going on, and to the best of my ability, neither did Sally. I don't know about Stan. And I'm in a butter, I'm directly across the street. But I want to show you what I think. I could be totally off the wall here, but you know, I do intend. I talked to Jim McGrath yesterday from Pittsfield, who used to sit on this board many years ago. And I said, you know, if I have an issue that has been sort of deceitfully, in my view, presented to the and approved by the Concom, what's my recourse? And he should get hold of DEP. I have not done that, just so you know. But I would like you guys to look at this, whatever way you want to look at it. But swipe to the left. But their delineation, the wetland is back there, obviously. My belief is the delineation of the wetlands should be there. This has all been filled in with this great big huge black rock that I asked the guy where it came from. He said West Stockbridge, and the reason they did is because the excavator got stuck in there. An excavator. I mean, he had to pull himself out by chaining his boom to something and pulling himself out. This is 10 feet off the side of Rattlesnake Mountain Road.
Is it all slimy, like clay type slimy? Or?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, Sally went in there. She went, you know, up to her boots in it.
On my boot.
And
The color.
Okay, I see.
And that's the DEP number for me. This is when they went from the site down around the corner to where they want to build the septic system. And, you know, I mean, I didn't take a picture of one of the employees taking all of the mud and crap out of the tracks after they got done with this, but they were there. That's another thing. So if you swipe to the left, you will see that with your own eyes. The last one being where the delineation baffles me. They cleared it and then they chipped everything from the canopy, which Sally has photographs of, both down where the septic belongs and up above. And it looks like they're just going to spread the chips all over the property. I mean, I might be wrong with that, but I mean, but I just want to bring this to your attention because I think that that is not a buildable site. And one of the reasons I don't think that's a buildable site, is even though there are quite a few acres in that site, the buildable acres on that site are delineated by the wetland. And I don't believe that there is enough property after they redelineate the wetland to accommodate a 5,200 square foot house and an Olympic-sized swimming pool.
And the septic field.
Septic fields down near stands.
That's got room.
It's like, but, you know, what Sally pointed out to me, and which I believe is the truth, is that there is something that I neglected to think about, which is a stormwater runoff, and it appears that that clearing is bigger than 10,000 square feet.
That's the limit, yeah.
Which triggers it. And I don't know what to do at this point. I just think that, you know, as townspeople, that we should pay attention to this stuff. I mean, it's definitely been habitat. I've lived across the street for 20 years and been in there looking for mushrooms, and there's, you know, all sorts of salamanders. I mean, granted, they're the orange kind and they're not endangered and all that, but, you know, that's fine. But, you know, so that's really all I have to say. I don't know how to go forward at this point other than to get hold of DEP, but I don't want to do that without the blessing of the Concom.
I had concerns about the amount of clearing. I didn't go out there with a measuring tape, but it did look to me as though it might be over 10,000 square feet. I had a conversation with John today. I know David reviewed the property and reviewed the wetlands delineation and moved it. And, you know, as I said to John, just because it's wet doesn't mean it's hydric. So I didn't do the delineation myself, so I don't know. But David could speak to that.
And what about the area right off of the road, Sally, where you went in?
Where I went in up to my knees practically. I mean, really, it was bad.
Is that from disturbance and road runoff that?
I honestly don't know.
The road
Right?
runs off in
Yeah.
two places above that.
For those, yeah, but
Yeah.
I didn't know where he went into.
But I did not go back as far as John was trying to tell me that I should look. Because when I started to go down I mean, it was pretty deep.
And did it look like they were clearing beyond what they said they would be clearing, or you couldn't?
Well,
tell?
I didn't have plans with me or anything, but the silt fence is in place. It's done the way it was said it was going to be done. But the amount of clearing was really.
They've cleared to the silt fence.
There are two different clearing
Snow fence
areas.
there? Did you say there was snow fence there?
It cleared to the silt fences.
So this is the first tile in the higher section. I don't know if you can see it. I can't move the computer because it's
wood chips?
attached. Those are wood chips, which are just about as tall as I am. Which admittedly is getting shorter and shorter, but. And then, but there was, down below, there was kind of a little bit of forest left in between, but not much. But there was another spot down below where there's another pile of chips.
That's where they plan on putting the
Made me
septic.
wonder how much clearing there is.
And whether it was more than they said they would do.
Yeah.
But it's, if I understand it correctly, that's outside of the buffer,
It could well be.
wasn't it, David?
I guess the first thing I would ask is, can you refresh my memory? An order of conditions was issued for this NOI,
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
Okay. And that was more than 10 business days ago?
yes,
Okay, so that means the appeal period is over.
yes.
So John, you can call Mass DEP if you'd like, but there's nothing they can do about it at this point. Second thing I would ask is there a suggestion that the project is out of compliance with the order of conditions? Does someone have evidence that the work has been conducted out of compliance with the order of conditions?
I haven't seen the order.
That I'm not clear on.
Okay, if the commission would like me to do a compliance inspection to make sure that everything's being done in accordance with the order of conditions, I'm happy to do that.
I think that would be good.
Yes.
And in particular, this would not be covered under the order of conditions. But one of my concerns was how much clearing has been done? And is it more than 10,000 square feet? In which case, a stormwater permit, which is a town thing, not a DEP thing, would have had to have been filed.
And furthermore, David, you know, I mean, when I built my house, I had to notify Beecher Scallion and Sally and whoever that property belonged to at the time across the street, and Stan Piatrick down the street. I never got a notice that this was happening. And to my way of thinking, that's falling out of place with the way things are supposed to work. Now, if that could be pushed aside and say, no, you don't need to do that anymore, maybe everybody should do that.
John, I can't speak to who of the butters were notified. I mean, as I recollect, you were very, very aware that the project was happening because you showed up at the public hearings and commented on them, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But at that time, I didn't ask my wife if she had ever signed a, green slip at the post office and sent it back. She said, I never saw one. Yeah. And I never saw one. So I don't know.
As I said, I'm happy to do a compliance inspection for the commission.
That would be good.
Thank you.
And we should probably review the abutter list. Because I know I did not receive one, and I did question Rob as to whether I should receive one, because I believe it's 200 feet. And my property is probably 200 feet from that, but maybe not. So I'm not worried about it. But John certainly is in a butter.
David, do you have a time frame when you might be able to look at this? You can get back to us on that.
Yeah, let me look at my schedule and get back to you on that one.
Can you guys get back to me on that? Thank you. All right.
Thank you, John.
I will leave you in peace and quiet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Any other informal anywhere?
Did you want to take the Rufo, the North Church Street, no work, COC?
We've got it. It's ready.
Oh, you do? I didn't know if you wanted to do that on the informal or wait till the end.
No, we have it. It's on the agenda.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I didn't see the latest agenda.
No, this is, well, you asked, I put it on.
Thank you.
All right, certificate of compliance for MITS.
Mints. Okay, so we were waiting for the official letter from the Mintzes about the trees that were going to be planted,
And I'm recused.
and we got it.
I have that, yeah.
So all we need to do is approve it. You are? Okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes and
Mints.
mints.
Yeah. And
For
we
the
have,
demolition replacement of existing house and associated site work.
and we have it to sign as well.
Did you get the tree removal request also? I know they've been reviewed at the site visit.
It's fine. It's included in this.
Okay.
Make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi, Kathy.
Hey.
probably don't want me sitting there with you folks. I've had a sore throat.
You're fine where you are.
Yeah. All right,
All right.
Okay,
that's
so we'll
done.
sign,
sign that. And I can make
Ally?
copies. Yes,
If you leave a copy in the town offices, I will stop by and sign tomorrow or Friday, whatever.
we don't need it, we have a quorum,
Okay, okay, good.
but thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
you good? What else?
Well, I'll come back up
We
after.
also have David Browse. Well, then we have David Browse for the amended order of conditions, so that's Brent. And I've had
82.
I've had a request that that everyone who comes forward, please state your name. That was Carol, that was Brian Sider from Foresight. And that's Brian with a Y.
Glad you did. Okay. Bring it up here. Oh, look, it's got a whole lot of stuff.
So if you all can say who you are and why you're
Good
here.
evening, Brent White from White Engineering.
Rob Mooney from Widener Hodgson.
Thank you all for your time this evening. This is a follow-up to we had a discussion informally at your November 28th hearing and then a site visit this past Friday. I have some materials I'd like to hand out to you all that were emailed this afternoon. Admittedly, I realized there was likely little to no chance to actually review this, but we're happy to walk through the documents this evening. They've been prepared in a fashion to try and directly respond to the questions and comments that were received, the areas of concern on the project. If you'd like, I'd just like to follow along the letter here, and then we've got the full-size landscape plans that were submitted as a part of this correspondence, as well as our full-size site plans as well, that we're happy to discuss.
Why don't you start and we have questions?
Jump right in. So the first item that was requested was to break out of all the changes that were made on the site here. We're dealing with both an order of conditions as well as a stormwater permit for the property here. There's certain work activities that were only subject to the stormwater permit and some that are subject to both the stormwater permit as well as the order of conditions under the Wetlands Protection Act and the town wetland bylaw. So the first item that's strictly related to the stormwater permit is with regards to we have topsoil at the cul-de-sac where we first met on Friday afternoon. You might recall we're taking approximately 2,300 square feet of the existing gravel road surface and going to topsoil that over and plant natural vegetation. So that's one activity that's technically governed by the stormwater permit. We view that as an improvement from the existing condition, but that is something that is subject to the stormwater permit itself.
Is there going to be any removal or just coverage?
Plan just to cover. So you're less disrupted that way, but we have more than enough topsoil to establish a vegetative area in that location. The other item is with respect to the sport courts that were somewhat halfway between Interlaken Road and Stockbridge Bowl. They are outside of any buffer zone. They are outside of the 200-foot setback to Stockbridge Bowl, but they are, again, an impervious surface. They are part of an area that's altered greater than 10,000 square feet. And to manage the stormwater runoff from the sport courts, we have a stone perimeter drip edge around each court surface itself. So as water sheets off, it will be infiltrated back into the ground in proximity to the court in lieu of concentrating that runoff towards the wetland where the culvert is proposed for where the stream crossing is. So those are really the items with respect to just the stormwater permit in and of itself. The rest of the activities that we're going to discuss are both subject to the Wetlands Protection Act, the wetland bylaw, and the stormwater permit. The first item that was asked with respect to at the stream crossing itself is we had identified that we'd proposed the arch culvert for that crossing, and we've provided for you all the calculations that demonstrate that the culvert that is proposed based on the span and the height complies with the stream crossing standards, pardon me.
And David, you have all this, right? You're muted. You're muted.
I think the question we had during the site inspection was what actually are the dimensions of the arch culvert, the proposed arch culvert?
It's 16 feet long. I think that's actually a typo. I think it's 43 inches high there, but that is, our openness ratio is required to be, we're required to provide a square footage area of 13.12 square feet, and we provide 15.27. And our required minimum diameter is 4.56 feet based on the span, and we provided a 5.3 foot culvert here, so.
Does the
Yeah, I
road-
mean-
Does the road rise up in that area?
It will rise up, that is correct, yes.
Yeah, I mean, based on what I saw in the field, I saw a stream channel that was about, I don't know, 20 or 24 inches wide.
Correct.
So that width is perhaps twice as much as it needs to be to meet the stream crossing standards. So that sounds good.
And we were really just trying to use with a standard product that's available that had the span that we were looking for, so we were comfortable with that.
Brent, sorry, one more time. What was the total width of that, the effective width of that culvert?
The effective width, Shannon.
Was it 17?
Well, it's a 5.3 foot diameter. I'm not sure if that's the width that you're referring to, David.
Yeah, I think it's an arch though, correct?
Correct, yes.
5.3. 5.3?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Perfect. And so again, we provided, and I'm actually going to take these out of order that we have shown on this board here, and then we can jump back and forth if you'd like. So one of the items that was a question with regards to the culvert itself was the setback to, or the separation between the actual limit of the culvert and the limit of bordering vegetated wetland. So for your reference, north is to the top on this sheet. If you were to follow the driveway, that would lead you to Interlaken Road, and this direction would lead you to the proposed house. The drawings that were submitted in November with the amendment and extension request, we had a 1 foot setback from the edge of the culvert to the limit of bordering vegetated wetland. After hearing your feedback at the site visit and considering, obviously our goal was to give as much room as possible between the relocated driveway surface and the northern property boundary with the Cohens to provide the evergreen screen as well as the additional native vegetation here. What we've ended up doing was shifting the culvert itself approximately 4 feet. So now or 3 feet. So we have a 4 foot separation from the limit of bordering vegetated wetland to the end of the culvert. So I think there was a concern with regards to ensuring enough room existed so that we didn't actually encroach into the wetland with the installation of the culvert here. So that is documented on both the plans prepared by Wagner Hodgson as well as our drawing set that shows that greater setback for that. We've also really throughout all the planting areas, this as well as down at the rain gardens, Rob's office took a closer look at your recommendations with regards to a number of species that are not only native to Massachusetts, but Western Massachusetts and Berkshire County. So Rob, I don't know if you wanted to detail what those changes were, but we did take those recommendations to heart, and the plans presented do reflect some changes in species more.
So can you, just because I haven't had a chance to look at it, can you tell us?
Sure, please, Rob.
Yeah, we've updated the evergreens to be the eastern red cedar and the white pines. I believe we had the green giants before, which is a native of the region, but not of the county. And then for the
David, can you hear?
and we also updated. I believe we had shown river birches, and we've updated those to the red maples.
Okay, we
So
got rid of the
that's
hemlock and
the selections here.
And lastly, what you see with the bubble cloud is a proposal to by hand remove buckthorn, the invasive species that are very predominant in that area here, along with the proposed plantings, which we viewed. We had always proposed plantings in that area as an improvement, but pretty apparent from the site visit that removal of that invasive species would be welcome. So we have committed to doing that as well.
or a rose.
You name it, they got it.
No, we all.
So if
How
there's no,
far back is that
We don't know what that.
clearing and landscape will be from the road now? What's the approximate distance of this area back here to?
that's going back probably 45 feet.
All right.
I don't know what Cali Campus, Florida is. What's coming in?
Sweet shrub.
Shrub.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
native?
Berkshire County.
And as we make our way, we get closer to the house here, you might recall this is the area where the proposed, the driveway is currently being finished graded behind the pool here. And one of the concerns was right where my hand is here, that's kind of the exposed ledge face that you saw. So we put together a proposed planting palette at the top of that ledge just to, again, provide more natural vegetation or an area where it's currently just bare soil. That will also, frankly, the trees in that location in terms of the proximity from Stockbridge Bowl, you may see the exposed ledge face here, but in terms of reestablishing a taller canopy that would have existed prior to the site construction, the trees planted in this proximity here will really help to provide taller green trees that would be viewed from Stockbridge Bowl and soften the view even further from what someone may have seen this past summer or even seeing it now here. And I don't know if you want to go over the palette that you promoted here, but it's a series of trees and shrubs that, but just an effort to, it's outside of the LPOD, it's outside of the 200-foot setback, but again, it's part of our stormwater permit and trying to demonstrate an improvement with regards to trees that have already been removed and trying to enhance the property here. We've included those details with this submittal.
More foliage, less runoff.
Absolutely.
And the intent is a layered planting that sort of ground covers hug the exposed ledge and then some shrubs and trees for the deeper roots.
And with regards to the rain garden areas, it was pretty clear that we had identified a proposed planting plan back in November here, and it seemed there was a desire to more clearly articulate what the differences of what was approved 3 years ago compared to what it is that we're asking for today. I realize there's a number of commissioners who were not on the commission at the time, so what we've prepared, this diagram helps to identify initially, as a part of the 2021 order of conditions, we had a total of 32 trees within the 100-foot buffer zone that were to be removed. And as a part of that approval, we had proposed a total of 64 trees to be planted within the 100-foot buffer zone at a 5 to 6 foot height and varying species. That's the order of conditions that stands as of today. What we've submitted as a comparison drawing here is our current proposal. Part of this was drawn for the fact that we did a slight reconfiguration of the rain garden on this north side here, just frankly, more time with the property and just to examine the existing trees, topography, and really the vantage point here. And what we've proposed, we identify that we believe what we are proposing as a part of this amendment request is an improvement from what was proposed initially. What we are calling for as a part of our amendment request is to only cut 29 further trees in the 100-foot buffer zone. We are going to replant 64 trees. So we have a net gain in terms of trees that we're planning to cut will be remaining. And one of the other changes that we made is 8 of the evergreen trees that are to be planted as a part of that 64 are going to be planted at a 10 to 12 foot height as compared to a 5 to 6 foot height. So we believe overall, what we're committing to in this amendment application is an improvement from what was originally approved with the order of conditions in 2021.
In our order of conditions, we have asked for 75%.
Right.
Correct.
Because the bigger trees.
Exactly right, and that's why we felt, in a good faith effort to show more canopy in the buffer zone as well as allay some neighbor concerns here. And one of the things I didn't address in the very beginning here was just to address the question that was asked at the last meeting. There is no intention to build a second single-family home on the vacant parcel here, and the second dock that we have proposed down on the waterfront is a floating dock. It is not going to.
What I was going to say was the bigger trees are harder to get established.
We understand.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a commitment of the owners to understand the commission's concerns and the sensitive nature of the property.
Actually, you get a good landscaper, they guarantee their stuff for at least a year.
No, we have a number of reputable vendors who will be able to assist us with that. And the last item that we took away from between the hearing and the site visit was just a request to update the timeline. Obviously, we're coming up on our 3 years, and as a part of our amendment request, we had also submitted a request to extend the order of conditions. Ideally, procedurally, if you're inclined to vote this evening, which we hope you are, we would hope to vote to amend the order of conditions first, and then the 3-year extension would certainly be the cleanest way in our view. But with regards to our timeline, we've identified that today may be a potential vote to amend and extend the order of conditions. So, okay, to be honest, I don't.
Have it to sign tonight.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, first and foremost, we know we're well ahead of our expiration, but we wanted to make sure that that was preserved and intact. So thank you for having that ready. With regards to additional activities, so this next few weeks we will install, currently there's a soil berm that's providing construction access as the temporary driveway that will become the permanent driveway. We have soil, and there's about a 3 to 4 foot drop in this vicinity here. That is going to remain through the winter likely here, so we'll put an erosion control blanket on that just to provide more stability, not be susceptible to erosion. Thankfully, it's survived well through last winter and this past construction season, but that was identified, and we're happy to commit to that. At the end of this month and into January, we'll also be filing with the planning board 2 different actions. The first is to amend our Lake and Pond Overlay District special permit. Some of the patios are just in a slightly different configuration that we had as our original special permit, so we want to document those changes. We also will be filing for them for a special permit for a driveway that is greater than 500 feet in length that is a dead end. So that is be heard concurrently by the planning board, although it's technically 2 separate permits they would be deliberating on. Really, the rest of this winter, the last couple of winters have been somewhat crazy. We've actually been able to get a fair amount of site work done. So I think the intention would be once additional approvals from the planning board are in hand, we had planned to do the final tree removal while the ground is frozen, as well as whatever grading work, prep work we could have for these rain gardens, as much as the weather will permit us through winter into springtime. The spring and summer, this upcoming year of 2024, we'll have the final leach field construction, finish of the construction of the pools and patios and grading. And then in the fall, they'll again finish as much grading work in the rain gardens and get as many plants in the ground. Really, with any work beyond that to be, I would call it, more punch list of site stabilization, landscape planning, et cetera.
Theoretically, under the order of conditions, if any work is going to be amended, that work can't start until you receive the permit from the planning board.
Understood.
Yeah, okay.
No, and we actually had an internal discussion of our team to say based on our current approval, there's a number of trees that we could come in and cut just based on that approval. We felt it was more important just to understand the total scope of all changes we've asked for here and ensure that is in hand. And hence, it was our intention to have an approval from the Conservation Commission before applying to the planning board. And with that vote, we would intend to get that filed as quickly as possible.
All right, thank you for all the changes you made.
And we provided all the specifications from the
You have a
paper.
copy of that sheet in here?
Yes, I do.
I just had one question. What do you have for monitoring and maintenance for the stormwater? How will you be staying on top of it?
Sure. So the deep sum catch base, it's somewhat funny. Usually we have sites, frankly, smaller than this that have less topography, that have more siltation, sedimentation issues. I will say this has been a unique, likely due to the amount of the presence of ledge in the area of the driveway here. We don't have as much topsoil that is running off here. I think for a residential project, our approach is typically the first year just to monitor the amount of sediment that would actually accumulate in the deep sum catch basins here. One of the items that was most of great concern at the last hearing was with regards to the pavers here, that those would be, that a maintenance schedule would be occurring on those, and really with a leaf blower or other sweeping techniques there, it really is a low maintenance tactic, and frankly, I'd imagine any just spring and fall cleanup would cover beyond what the manufacturer has called for to ensure that those pavers will work properly here. Really, the beauty of this system is, aside from cleaning of the deep sum catch basins, there's very little sediment that's going to be accumulated in the chambers or in the rain gardens themselves. The rain gardens will have leaf litter or mulch that needs to be replenished over time, things to that effect. But with the volume, frankly, of rain garden capacity we have, there's a number of periods of redundancy in our stormwater management system that is certainly far and beyond most houses on Stockbridge will have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
That's all I have.
Anything run last weekend?
I'm sorry?
Did any water run down that hill last weekend?
I haven't been back this week, but we've had a wet few months. And I said, even if I go back to this past January when there were some questions raised and had our site visits, I was very pleased to see how stable the site has remained. And just to touch on one other comment that's not in the letter here is that the final, once the culvert is installed, the driveway is realigned here, the surface that you saw at the site visit on Friday will not be the final wear surface on the driveway itself. It will be more of a crushed stone that is less susceptible to sedimentation and erosion. So that is.
Don't use that weight stuff.
I don't know.
Disgusting.
It also makes a big mess because it runs.
Are you gonna put another culvert down at the bottom?
Another culvert, I'm
I
sorry.
remember you were talking to Greg and you said that.
Oh, yes, no, I'm sorry. Thank you for raising that. No, at the base of the driveway there, we've also added 2 deep sump catch basins for the runoff that comes down the steepest portion of the driveway here. Really, that allows us to capture more of the water farther away from the lake, slow it down, and another point for sediment to accumulate. So we're not counting on one deep sump catch basin for our entire driveway drainage network here. We have redundancy with that. There's smaller catchments, so really each structure is managing less portion of the driveway for.
Slowing down the runoff.
Exactly right.
Yep. Are the infiltrators in place?
No, that is a change. So we've held off on installing those. That's one of the tasks that, depending on the weather that we have, the speed of the approval with the planning board, maybe something that's considered as a part of the final grading here, trying to get those installed with the final shaping of the rain garden. But between now and the end of summer, I would expect that chamber installation would be part of the final site preparations around the house.
How big a pipe feeds the chambers?
12-inch.
I'll tell you where I'm going, right?
Please.
It looked to me on the smaller set of plans that there wasn't much space between the chambers and much cover. And then the rain garden.
Correct.
The chambers are right up against the rain garden. And if you get a real heavy rain, I mean, I'm not the expert, you're the expert on this. It seemed like they could blow out. There's a possibility of that. Maybe not, okay, I'm turning it over to you.
Sure. No, well, I think the nice thing is very similar to a septic leach field in the fact that the amount of capacity that those chambers hold, that actually holds about 3 inches of runoff for the entire impervious area here. So in my view, putting the chambers in is actually a significant improvement from what we had initially about that here. I guess if you're concerned about that, I would suggest as a condition of the order of conditions that we would install on the eastern boundary, the downhill boundary of the chambers.
Some overflow?
No, we plan to have an overflow pipe, but what I was going to suggest is similar to our raised septic field, if we use the 40 or 60 mil impermeable liner here, that could easily be incorporated to this to better allay that concern that we're not going to have water. Frankly, I think with the chambers here, the amount of rainfall runoff that we're going to have, I don't share that concern, but I think it's a valid one. And I think the way that we would best address that is with an impermeable liner on that downhill barrier that will be keyed into the native soil and go all the way to the top of the chamber, like a leach field, with the control outlet of that just being the knockout of the pipe on the chamber that would feed into the rain garden eventually. Should we ever have that successive rain events, or we have a rain event after the chambers are full and haven't fully drained yet, that we would have the ability to do that and know that everything is contained in the chamber until it gets to that pipe.
Brent, would you send me the language on that? Because I don't think I'm getting it.
I will be happy to send that to you. I think for a purpose of a vote, I would say to install an impermeable liner on the downhill side of the chamber bed would probably cover it.
Anything else?
And any special conditions that you place on this, we'll update our plans, and that will be the basis of what we submit to the planning board. So when they would take a vote on a plan set, it will have all of your special conditions factored in.
David, did you have any other comments?
The revised plans and information hit my inbox at 3:35 today. I was in the field all day. I got home at 6 o'clock. I haven't reviewed any of it, so I have no opinion. Everything that Brent described sounds good to me, but I just can't give you an informed opinion
Yeah,
because
so
I haven't actually reviewed anything.
it's actually a really good point, because, I mean, I'm in the same condition. Everything you said sounded great, but if we could get these like the day before a meeting, I would find it really helpful.
I thought you did pretty good at getting it out this quick.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, admittedly, I was trying to advocate for the site visit earlier last week to give us more time here. It was certainly not my preference to provide the material at such short notice here, but we wanted to be thorough and make sure we addressed between the hearing on the 28th and the site visit, the comments that were raised.
But when you work all day, you don't have a chance to look at it before you come here.
So do we want to continue? Is that,
No, I don't feel like I need to continue.
Okay. David,
You
are you-
answered my question.
are you feeling like you really?
I don't have an opinion.
Okay,
I didn't review anything, so I don't have an opinion.
He gets another bite at the apple with the planning board too, if that helps.
So we've already issued an amended order of
Mr.
conditions.
Kramer is on the Zoom, who is the direct abutter. Do you have any questions, Mr. Kramer?
I have no comment. I'm perfectly comfortable with the project, providing that there's enough landscaping so that the major portions of it, the house and the guest house, cannot be seen from our property, because that would change the aesthetics of the area. But outside of that, if it's properly screened and properly landscaped, and everything is within the 50-foot buffer zone, I'm totally comfortable.
And I would just direct the commission to this plan here that actually very well shows, this is the subject property, Mr. Kramer's property is just to the south here. And this proposed landscaping plan actually shows a more robust vegetative screen between our work area and Mr. Kramer's property. So I feel this is an improvement from, frankly, what my office had permitted 3 years ago.
Well, the change of seasons influence what the visual sections of this going to be? I mean, when all the leaves are down, is that going to affect his view, or is it going to be?
What we've done is took a layered approach, so to have the sort of evergreens in the background and then deciduous native plantings in the front. So
So it's going to be dense enough even with the foliage?
Correct.
It'll be
Substantially more than is there now, and even more so than what we had originally called for in that area.
Is the guest house up on top, is that included in that screening?
Yes, no, we screened, and what we've actually done is a part of one of the discussions that we had earlier on as a part of this project, obviously, we're going to no longer have access to our property from Mr. Kramer's driveway, which is in this location here. So we've actually gone to great effort to provide screening vegetation in this location that would help really screen the entire property in this location, since that's the most open portion of that property here. And I know Rob's office spent a great deal of time working with our client to come up with what that scheme would be to ensure that the Kramers would be happy with this.
And that's your issue to work on. It's not a wetland issue.
No, but I just wanted to make sure the commission was aware that that's something we've thought about a great deal amount as a part of this.
Condition as a wetland.
Sure.
all right.
Thank you.
Welcome. We've already issued amended order of conditions. No,
An extended order.
extended.
Extended order. We have it ready to sign, but we do need to vote on the amended order of conditions. If everybody's comfortable.
Joe,
Motion if you want. We approve the amended order of conditions?
second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Merry Christmas.
thank you.
Does that
You're not done with me yet.
include the stormwater then? Is the stormwater part of,
Probably should vote for the revision to the stormwater permit as well, to be clear.
Motion? Make a motion to amend the stormwater permit. Second? All in favor? Aye.
And you again.
Right here. What else you got?
Just the 5A North Church Street, certificate of compliance for no work.
Right, it's just a request for certificate of compliance. We also have nobody to sign tonight.
That was for work that was, we were actually in the process of seeking an amendment and actually found a endangered plant on the property that kind of stopped the plans. The property's for sale pending at the end of this month. And they just want to close out the previous order of conditions that was in place.
Is he thinking, is whoever is going to buy it, my understanding was that it was possible that it was going to be put into some sort of conservation.
I know preservation is the priority with acquisition of the property. I can't speak to if.
We back up because I don't know where we are. Which one?
North Church Street, 5A North Church Street. So that's,
Rufo is the current owner.
yeah, it's a little house in the front. Talk long history here. That used to belong to Kilners, and the folks bought it, and there were two properties. The house, the one that has the little gray house on it now. And then there was a property up in back where there was field and forest and all kinds of stuff back there, and they found a greater blue lobelia back there.
Sally, I can't hear you.
Greater blue lobelia, which is an endangered plant species. So that kind of changed the whole complexion of the property because it was there.
It is now mapped entirely as priority habitat based on that discovery.
So the plans to I don't know, subdivide is correct, I don't think. But anyway, the plan to have a separate lot that could be built on was sort of went down by the wayside. And that's where we're at now.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we're closing this, they're gonna start fresh.
Track of the lobelia, wasn't it?
Oh, yes.
Significant.
Could only be there at a certain time of year to have seen it too, so don't ask me how that happened.
That's in the fall.
Serendipity.
Yeah.
So anyway, they haven't done the work on the property that they were thinking about doing.
So
And
we
so
need to
we
close
can
it.
just close it out because there's been no work done.
All right,
And that allows the closing to occur.
make a motion to close the hearing on that
Second.
5A.
Or we're issuing the complete certificate of compliance that states that no work has been done.
Make that motion to
Do that.
do that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's close.
Thank you all. Have a great holiday season.
Thank you.
If you,
Thank you.
I don't know what your time frame is, but we can sign it. On it, or I can
Sure.
just mail it. I'll mail it out on Thursday.
If you can mail it on Thursday, that's just fine.
Okay.
Thanks again, everybody.
Okay.
Have a good holiday.
Two choice. Where are we?
Perlmutter, Maple Lane.
RDA for demolition and reconstruction.
I am Brian Sider again with Foresight. Good evening. So we are representing the Perlmutters who own 6 Maple Lane, which is down south of Stockbridge Bowl, the dead end street off of Beechwood. And
How big is the lot?
it's not large. It's
We'll start down through there.
0.46 acres. So that's part of this is the existing building is already non-conforming in almost every way. So it'll have to go through planning board as well. But the intent here is to demolish the existing house and rebuild largely within the same footprint. And that includes the house and the existing garage that's there. Those will both be demolished and then a new house will be built, designed by Green River Design.
Well, they, basically.
Might show it a little better.
Garage.
It's a little larger overall footprint, but the garage will be, there won't be a garage in the new building. So the new building
The
will,
building will include the,
it'll include the garage's, current garage's square foot.
And then will they be coming to us to put up the garage?
The garage, no, I don't believe there's any intent of a garage, but the existing garage is outside of the 100-foot buffer. And I guess I should backtrack a little bit. So the entire property is outside the LPOD. There's about 18 feet of one property line that is within the 200-foot offset from the lake, but none of the project will be inside that 200-foot buffer. So we expect because of construction that there'll probably be some temporary movement lay down within this 200-foot, but it's 18 feet within the 200-foot buffer just temporarily, and nothing beyond this driveway. So there's a gravel driveway that separates this from the property abutting the lake. Solar?
cellar.
Cellar. I don't know that.
Is it
I'm
Pierce?
not sure if it's existing, has a cellar.
There's no cell, there'll be no cellar.
No cellar, thank you.
This Tom Perlmutter.
Is it on Piers now, sir? What's
It
the
is on piers now, yes.
Why I'm asking is that if there was going to be a cellar hole, where would the fill go? A lot of times it's just spread.
Right. So not a concern in this case. But the reason for the conservation notice of intent is because, or RDA in this case, is because we're within the 100-foot buffer of a BVW that exists on the back half of the parcel.
How close?
So I think the closest is about 75 feet to the buffer. And again, it's no closer than the BVW. It's within about 25 feet of the buffer, the 100-foot buffer here.
I'm sorry, I'm confused.
Sorry, so the house is 75 feet from the BVW.
Okay.
The existing house. The new house will not be any closer to that buffer.
And the square footage of the existing?
The square footages are listed on here. So the existing coverage is 8.4% of the lot, which is about 1,700 square feet essentially. And the total new will be 2,000, which is still under the 10% coverage limit.
I'm very confused. I want being done within the 200-foot zip buffer is my last note. We're 75
Correct.
from the buffer. I don't.
Sorry, so 200-foot buffer of the lake.
Okay, so
The Stockbridge bylaw 200-foot buffer, but we are within 100 feet of a separate BVW.
Two different resources. Yeah.
So the only resource area that the work is within is the 100-foot buffer of the BVW.
And
Right.
are trees being taken down?
Actually, I believe there are 2 pines. There are several trees being taken out.
Okay, so when we do the
But-
site visit, can you mark the trees that are coming down?
Yes, that's what I was going to request, is a site visit. I think we would propose one-to-one plantings.
When we go to that second visit, it'll be flagged and marked.
Yes, we need to.
Flagged, the BVW will be marked, oh, the trees as well? Yes.
And the
Yeah,
BVW.
sure. That we can do. That was all I had. I guess that was my next suggestion is, if you want to make a site visit, we can arrange that. Definitely do. Next week may work.
We do not have a meeting, the next meeting.
Okay.
So it will not be till the 9th of January will be our next meeting. We have never had the second December.
All right, this week?
I can do Thursday, I
I
can't do.
can't.
It would have to be Friday because we have to post it. Can't post it till tomorrow, so
Right,
it
I
can't
think
be
I
till
said-
Friday.
So can we put it off? Because I'd like to see it. I can't do Friday.
We're taking,
I mean, we have till January 9th.
through. One way
Can we do it the holiday week?
Don't we want to get it in as soon as possible so we can look at the plant material?
For the trees, so they're not gonna, I
How
mean,
about
yeah, we can, as soon as possible. but
next
I'd
week?
like to see
We'll
it.
see everything then.
Monday, Tuesday? Anyone?
Thursday?
Thursday, the 21st?
Yeah, no later.
No later. Okay.
Site visit.
Site visit on the 20th.
The 21st.
What time?
Afternoon.
Yes, please.
And we will,
2:30?
2:30 is okay. 21st at 2:30.
we will flag the trees being removed and the wetlands were delineated, so the
So there's markers.
flagging should still be there.
Yeah. You'll be able to tell us the distances.
Yes. Just looking.
6 Maple Lane, the 21st at 2:30.
Okay, thank you.
Given weather. God knows what happens between now and then, so.
That looks good.
yeah. 21st, you said it was a Thursday?
It looks to me like 3 pines. We can definitely. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So I'm also here for a certificate of compliance for Landau, 50 Lake Drive. That was, I have the plan here somewhere, that was issued in 2020, so the house was built. A lot of the landscaping has been done. Mark was out there reviewing it earlier this month. It looks good. The best I can do is small photos that I brought, but if you recognize the house, it's on Lake Drive.
Yeah.
Right on the bowl. And again, yeah, I was gonna request a site visit, but the intent is to get a certificate of compliance to close out the work that's been done. I think the order is about to expire anyway, but.
Do we want to do, is it after the Maple Lane?
Yeah. We still got 5 minutes of sunlight.
Okay, just barely.
No, it'll be the, what, the shortest day of the year, right? 21st?
Solstice. Yeah.
First day of spring.
That's how I look at it. As an old friend of ours would say, from your mouth to God's ear.
All right, so on the
50 Lake
21st.
Drive.
Let's see, at 2:30 at 6 Maple Lane.
Yes.
From there, 15 minutes later. We'll go to 50 Lake Drive.
50 Lake Drive. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it. Finished on mine for once. Imagine. All right.
Okay, what else we got here? We gotta sign a bunch of stuff.
Okay. Site visit.
So before we adjourn, may I?
Wait, we're not adjourned.
No, before you get ready to adjourn, I just want to see if I can be put on the agenda for 3 minutes. I see where something, it's going to be next month, but we're not meeting
Must be the three
We're not
houses.
meeting
We're talking about
The White House.
tonight.
Oh, up trees?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
for this time?
Yes,
Oh, it is?
yes.
Because I didn't see, I didn't get that.
Upcoming and other business.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
Other business,
Okay,
right here.
good. Thank you.
We have 3 to sign, correct? Or 4?
Yes, we have 3 to sign, and we have trees.
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 Has anybody looked at these trees? Do we have any?
David has looked at the trees at 102 Interlaken Road, and we have a review from him.
102.
That is Bauer. We had
I've been there before.
it's right next to the boat club. It was the one where they took down the trees and we had to go tell them that they had to replant. But apparently, some of the work that they have done on the house and wherever else they've done it may have compromised more trees. So I think this is going to be one, David's review was quite thorough. And he says, well, he can even talk for himself, or I can.
I mean, I can explain what I saw, Sally, if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is just to the south of the area we all looked at last year. I don't know if you guys recollect this site or not.
Yes.
So they have done all the plantings that the commission required in that open area, and they look like they're doing well. I didn't actually look in that forested area too thoroughly when we were there last year, but there are a whole bunch of dead trees, mature dead trees, including hemlocks and ashes and birches and maples. And my impression is that that area has been subjected to gradual changes in hydrology, potentially from stuff in uplands. I'm not sure if it's actually stuff that's occurring on that property or the adjacent property. I don't know.
Meaning it's wetter than it had been?
It just, Lisa, it just looks to me like it's the kind of area that I wouldn't expect to be as wet as it is. And so that, I think, is one of the contributing factors to all these mature trees dying. I mean, there are white birches growing in this area, and it's really wet. White birch is not a wetland species. So I think that small area has been subjected to some drainage changes over the years. I don't have any, I can't speculate as to what the source
There's
of
a
those changes
spring.
are.
There's
What's
a
that?
spring. There's a spring.
Perhaps.
I'm extremely familiar with that, with the property next door.
Okay.
And in the driveway, it's a club. And it has, in the driveway, there's a spring that bubbles up in the driveway. And it drains off into Miss Abrams' property.
That would make perfect sense.
Provide why it's getting wetter.
Yeah, that would make perfect sense. To me, it looked like an abnormal, I mean, it's a stand of trees that have died. It's not just like one species that's been afflicted by a common affliction or disease. It's a whole bunch of mature trees that have died over the years. And so I think the primary concern is aesthetics. There's no structure in imminent danger of being compromised. I actually suggested to Race Mountain Tree Services that they put together a simple site sketch with methods and access to get to these trees in terms of how they'd like to remove them. We talked about that in the field. Of course, I didn't commit to anything on behalf of the Conservation Commission, but it sounds like they have a tracked man lift that they can drive into that area and they can weave through the new trees that they planted and stage that thing in the lawn area and get to all the trees they need to cut from the edge of the lawn with this man lift. I suggested that standing dead snags, and I know, Lisa, this is something that's important to you. Standing dead snags provide good habitat for wildlife, including birds that nest in rotting trees. And I said, do you think there's an opportunity for lopping these things, 6 or 10 feet above ground and leaving some of that material for habitat? And I don't think they could commit on behalf of the property owner, but they seem to understand those comments, and they said they would bring it to the property owner's attention. I said that I expected the commission would want to see replacement shrubs and saplings for any trees that were cut. And I also said that it would be easier for the commission to make a decision as to the preferred permitting pathway if the trees proposed to be cut were actually marked. I think they had a list of, or they had indicated 21 different trees needed to be cut, but they weren't actually marked in the field. So I could only surmise which ones they wanted to remove.
How close are they to the resource area, David?
They're all, I'm pretty sure they're all within 100 feet of Stockbridge Bowl.
Okay. So we can at least require an RDA.
Absolutely, you could, yeah. And there's one hemlock that's very close to the bowl that's actually got, it looks like it's being used by some kind of bird to nest in. And Kieran said that he didn't think that one needed to be removed at all. So he said that he didn't think that any of the stuff right along the shoreline needed to be cut, but some of the stuff farther away. I said, okay, well, the way you can clear that up is by actually marking the trees you want to cut.
So do you think we should do an RDA, or do you think we should do a notice of intent?
I think if I were the commission, I would wait to see what kind of initial submittal that they make and make sure they mark the trees. And then I would suggest that we go back out to the site when they've actually marked the trees and they've kind of distilled their methods and materials for removal, and then the commission make a decision. I think an RDA might be appropriate, but I'm reluctant to make a recommendation until we get more information.
Well, the reason I ask that is because we have our new tree permit form. And one of the things that we can recommend, because it's sort of taking the place of a jurisdictional that we would do under a normal building permit, is that we can check off either that the commission has no jurisdictional concerns, that they should file a request for determination or a notice of intent, or if it's really desperate, an emergency certification.
Right. So of those three, sorry.
So, well, just let me finish. So they're expecting us to send something back to them. And I think at this point, it sounds as though we should ask them to file a request for determination, because that would trigger a notice of intent if we think we need it, but we don't. Yeah.
There's no harm in requiring an RDA right now. I mean, I would always say that, if it's a foregone conclusion that it's going to have to go to an NOI, then don't bother doing an RDA.
Right.
I'm surprised that Race Mountain Tree Services didn't present themselves here tonight, but maybe they haven't had a chance to actually talk to the property owner. But if you wanted to be very responsive and get back to them, certainly requesting them to submit an RDA would be appropriate.
Okay, I think
if they can, we kind of gamed out how they might actually do this work while we were there. And I think if they can actually cross that intermittent stream, they talk about maybe putting a steel plate over it and driving this man lift over it so they didn't actually impact the banks of the stream bottom. And they can actually stage it in the lawn area and reach everything from there. But I think an RDA is appropriate for the work.
Because we could sign that tonight and send it to them so they would have a response to know what to do.
Yeah.
So So, thank you. That's really helpful. I am interested in just getting a clear sense of how we track these. So it comes to you initially,
Well,
right?
it comes to the
Comes
commission,
to the
yeah.
commission.
Yeah.
Can it, and some of them I see, some of them I don't. I'd like to see them. Can they get scanned to the commission like everything else does? So we get a sense of, I know, I'm getting the eyeball here, but it's hard, I would find
We're
it helpful.
still so in the new, trying to figure this out, like what the process is.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I think
Yeah,
it
so,
would be
yeah.
good to pay attention to the process.
Can we just leave them in the box?
They are left in the box.
Oh,
Yes.
Everybody comes in and looks.
no.
Right.
So I would find it helpful to see them ahead of time.
Okay.
And
Well, it doesn't really say much. I mean, it's just this sort of really simple form that says that her concerns are safety, forest health, and aesthetics.
Yeah, but even just so I have something, so I know what we're.
With a thing
talking
like
about.
it's, 180 feet from the house, 50 feet from this shed,
Yeah, but so we have some basis when we come to the meeting.
Right.
Your description was very helpful, and that's great, but it's helpful for me to look at things ahead of time. And when this is another question in terms of our process, did the person you met with from Race sign anything? Like that this was a meeting? Is it just, it's your note?
Well, they send it.
Actually, there's the second page for commission use only. And
Yep.
so I should actually fill that in. I hand wrote that in. So what I can do is I can do that digitally and I can email that back to the commission.
That would be great.
Just so we can all see all the documentation.
Okay.
Yep.
And that helps me track what's going on.
Yeah.
Some don't know what's going on.
It's confusing.
Yeah. Thank you.
So it sounds as we have David's report in email form
Yeah.
as to what his,
But I can copy and paste that right into the actual form, Sally, so that it's all a
that'd be great.
standalone document. That I think
Okay,
makes sense for Lisa too.
okay.
So everybody has it.
But in the meantime, do we want to ask them for a request for determination?
Yes.
Okay, so that we can do that and we can just have somebody sign it. We didn't have a lot of space for signatures, so, if Ron signs it and somebody else wants to sign it, we can send it out to them and then they can
Great.
file
Yeah.
officially.
And part
Does
of-
it need to have David's data added to it?
It could,
before
yes.
It goes back to them. I think
Yeah.
that would be appropriate.
So if you can get it to me by Thursday, your piece, then I can send it with this to them.
Yep, I'll get it to you tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
And thank you. And part of why I'm asking is because I know you ran into behind the knoll that you met with Hout Tree.
Yeah.
And there was this whole conversation that happened, but then they didn't sign anything, you didn't sign
And
anything.
to this date, I don't know
Right.
if the tree's coming down or who's
The
taking
tree,
it down.
as of 3:00 today, the tree's still there. So it hasn't come
Well,
down. But I think the more we can improve the actual documentation, the better we can track it.
Right. Like I said,
It's a work in progress, I
in
know.
progress.
That's good.
We learn with everyone, like,
Absolutely.
oh, gosh, we really should have done that.
Seeing the
So we can sign this along with the other things. And we can send out the information that they want. And then we have Karen's request, which we need to do a site visit for.
Oh, you didn't go to that one?
Did you go to the Main Street one, David?
East Main,
90?
No, I didn't have any information on that one, so.
So we have a request from 90 East Main Street. And it's Forest Health, it says. And since the property owner is here, the property owner could give us some information.
Well,
talk to
so I also have met, and we are dealing with Ron from,
You able?
yeah.
Race Mountain.
From Race Mountain. And And I have a question, because I filled out the form.
Yes, you did.
And I left it in the box, and I've been waiting and waiting because it's getting colder and colder, and I'm
Right.
concerned about taking care of these trees, because, I live right on the Campusa Brook. So one of the trees is at the top of my driveway, and it really needs, according to Ron, it needs to come down. And the other trees, because of the location, he would treat them. And I should have made more copies for everybody to see, but he will inject them and he will treat them and try to make sure that we save them.
These are ash trees?
These are the,
I have his email here. So this is the response from Ron Yapel.
Right.
Says the 2 white ash treatments are necessary to keep them alive. Emerald ash borer has killed many ash trees all around your area. Yours will not be exceptions. One of them is rooted into and helps retain the bank of the Campusa Bog Brook. The treatments involve trunk injection of insecticides, amosectin benzoate, that is contained within a low-pressure injection system known as a Q-Connect, transmits the chemistry directly into the trunk flare, the tree's xylem vessels, and is translocated into the tree's crowns. The removal of the small Dutch elm disease infected American elms will be done via cutting with chainsaws using vegetable-based bar oil. One of these trees poses a safety threat directly over the driveway entrance. Our other proposed work is routine, low maintenance of existing woody plants. The issue with this and why it's more confusing or more difficult to get around is the fact that it's right on the brook.
yeah.
So has all kinds of jurisdictional issues.
I know it does.
And, normally this would probably require the filing of a notice of intent. It's a big deal because it's on the bank of the river. However, the white ash or the one that's a safety threat over the driveway could be done under an emergency certification.
Is that ash or elm over the driveway?
It's a small Dutch elm.
It's the Dutch elm. It's right at the top of our driveway, and it's really,
Can't be very
It's on its
big.
way out.
yeah, it's really, I'm concerned that it could fall either, onto the street, or worse, it could fall onto the driveway.
That can be done under an emergency.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we really, I spend quite a bit of time in the yard, working in my yard, and I'm concerned about the trees on the brook. I really hope we can save them, but I know that something has to be done.
For the ashes you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Do they have a time frame? Because I doubt they're going to inject anything this time of year.
Well, he kept hoping that he would hear that I would get to him quickly before the ground freezes and he might be able to do something. I don't know if he'll even do anything anymore.
I don't think there's much sap flow either direction right now.
But the sooner I can,
The ash tree is an emergency situation, or the elm tree.
yeah,
So take that down.
okay, thank you. And what are we going to do about the things that are on the brook?
It's going to have to be filed officially.
Okay,
Because
When you
does.
talk to Mr. Yabel
yeah,
and say you've got permission to take the elm down, ask him what his time frame is on the ash trees on the brook.
okay.
So why don't we give permission for that? I don't even know that needs our permission to inject for
Yeah,
that
I'm
emerald.
very doubtful on it.
Yeah,
too.
I don't know that needs our permission.
It's not like there's cutting or anything
Yeah,
on
to
the ash
inject
trees.
Right.
for the, I think that can just be done.
I can do that? I don't want to do, I said
Right,
to my husband Larry, I said, I have to be careful now. I don't want to do anything.
Is there any
permission.
jurisdictional issue with injecting?
With injecting the trees?
Emerald ash borer? Not that I know.
God bless you.
David, do you know anything about injections this time of year?
No, I'm not an arborist. That's not my area.
I doubt it myself.
But they
and I'm
don't
not
need
either,
to
but-
get our permission.
I just want to make sure I don't do something without, that I'm supposed to get permission for.
That it stays within the trunk It's not,
I-
it's,
I don't know. I don't know what the commission would do with a filing for that, so I don't,
Yeah,
I wouldn't recommend filing anything with the commission.
okay,
yeah, I think
Yeah.
you can just do that.
yeah, okay,
Do it.
Do-
Okay.
if he- You know, whenever he thinks the right time
okay,
is.
thank you.
It may not happen till spring when
Yeah,
things start to grow.
I'm so protective of every single thing on the side of on the brook there.
Once for something a long time ago.
Okay, so we've given you permission to take down the elm.
Good,
And
thank
it's
you.
okay to have him do the injection.
Good, wonderful,
So
thank you.
we need to document this.
Yeah,
All right.
So another RDA?
Good.
No, we can do it on our form.
Oh, that too.
So we have to sign it, but I'll put in language saying it's okay. So we can sign this.
Wonderful, thank you.
This is the old one. Wait, we need a new one.
That last page, Sally, you can.
Yeah, I need another page, but I'll find one. Wait, do I have one? I do have one. Okay, good. All right, so we can sign this, giving Karen those permissions.
and then for the one right on the bank, Karen, for the one right on the bank,
And then we're back to the knoll.
what is the last tree, the one by the bank? Do an NOI, right?
Yes.
You got that?
I'm sorry.
You'll have to do an NOI for the one
For
on
the
the
one on the
bank.
bank, you have to
Oh, I have
do an
to,
official filing for that
okay,
one. That one's jurisdictional,
all right, so I have to get,
an NOI.
okay. Thank you. Yeah, okay.
No.
Okay, so we've got some trees that need to be injected.
Right,
Do,
You can just do, the elm tree can just go down.
okay,
And but the one tree that's right on the bank, they're proposing to remove,
yeah,
have to have an NOI.
okay,
And that's, you can find that on the DEP website.
okay.
All right, and we can specify all that in the thing. Sign it, I'll figure out how to write it up. All right, and then we have the knoll. The never-ending knoll.
I haven't heard anything in almost a week now.
Ben called today and said that he has been unhired.
I know that.
And he wanted to make sure that there was no liability for him in terms of replanting. And I said, I assured him that in fact there was not, that would be the responsibility of the homeland property owner.
Yeah.
And he has no responsibility whatsoever for this, that ultimately it's always. But he was happy. So we're still waiting to hear the outcome of this, and so we need to find out whether he has not yet received permission for that last tree.
who,
Mr. Crowley. Because we have the report from Howe Tree that it doesn't need to get taken down.
but we have it verbally, but we don't have it in writing. So
Yeah.
it doesn't.
So I have his email, I will email him.
Is this the owner, Sally?
The
Management or
manager of the,
president,
What about the
whatever
owner,
it is,
though?
the condo
you
association.
don't even know who the owner is.
How else do you do it?
That's been the
Presumably,
problem.
he's the guy who can make these decisions. It's a very confusing situation.
No, it has to be done by the owner and. I mean,
At this point, given that it's right in the bank, we should probably do the same thing that we're asking Karen to do.
Yeah,
Do an NOI.
Yeah, do an official NOI, because this has been really confusing.
Okay, so we'll tell him that last tree needs to have an
An
NOI.
NOI, and
Okay.
come to us,
Works
so
for
that
me.
somebody really signs it and
Right,
we know who we're dealing with.
works for me.
Think? Yes.
how can we not know who the owner is?
I need the paper for to do that. Okay, so we have all these things to sign. Ron and Lisa, if you sign these two, that'll be fine. And then these are the regular signature things.
So do you want to vote on the?
Yes, we need to vote on whether we will meet on the 26th. Somebody needs to make a motion.
That we
President of a condo.
skip the meeting on the 26th of December and have our next meeting be January 9th.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Did we get all the ayes?
Yep. All right, let me go grab that other form.
Are we adjourning?
Yeah, I see your point.
You don't, yeah, we have a form. Yes, okay.
What did I miss? I need to file a notice of
For the one on the bank.
The one on the,
even though it's just an injection,
No, the injections you can do,
but the one,
the emergency, the tree you're worried about falling, you can take down.
I can do that, but
The
that's,
one that's growing right in the bank.
but you had one, yeah.
I guess that was together.
The two ash tree ones.
yeah. No, there's nothing coming down at the
Want
bank.
to get a chance to talk to the
I don't need it.
Most Street Commissioner.
And the one by the driveway, you could
That I
just,
can do. There's nothing coming down by the bank. I'm not taking
no,
anything
but don't
down.
worry about it.
Yeah,
And you don't need the other one.
Do we have a date?
there's nothing coming down the bank. I'm gonna try to save one.
So did we adjourn yet?
You had your coat on. Are you ready to run home?
I was sleeping.
Ron, Sally, I mean, little sidebar conversation. I mean, are we clear who's the owner of the Knoll property?
No,
That's been the issue.
We needed somebody of authority,
which is Mr. Crowley, presumably.
and he's the
Manager.
chairman, manager, president, whatever the association is.
I was going to say it would be the condo association that I think would be the authority, that would have the authority to sign anything that the commission.
That's who we've dealt with, is the person that's, I don't know if it's a president or spokesperson for the authority. Because the condo owners who started this, we told him originally that he did not have the authority. So the issue has been finding someone who will take the responsibilities for this. Somebody's got to pay the bill. One guy can't say, cut it down, and then.
Yeah, if they have to authorize payment, they have to hire the arborist. They
And
have
some
to
of
agree to
this,
pay the arborist.
the arborist has to have an insurance certificate, which
Right.
jump things around again.
Can't you just go to the courthouse and look at the deed to see
Yeah.
who owns it?
It's up to them.
Yeah, I'm not going to the.
I know
It's them
that.
to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah,
And-
yeah, you can see.
So far, this one person has said he has the authority. And he has credentials evidently to ensure this. So that's who we're gonna deal with.
So while we're thinking about
But
this,
part of the issue might be, can he make a decision without going back to all the other condo owners? And I think that's the major holdup here. Do you want to
And who's
spend
gonna
X
pay
amount of
for it?
dollars?
Right, they have to vote on it.
Because this is gonna be above and beyond their whatever fee scheduling they have now. And it only takes, I don't know, majority, I don't know how it works there.
that's not our business. I'm concerned people are packing up, and don't we have things to sign before we all?
Okay, we're working on it. They're coming around, I think.
No, they weren't.
No, they
I'm
haven't.
not going.
Did this one come by?
No, 3 ones, we just need a couple signatures. These we need.
We need another signature on that. This one we need everybody.
I'll figure out how to tell them what they need to do.
David, I think we're pretty close.
Okay, just so you know, I sent the commission my findings from the tree removal site visit at 102 Interlaken. So it should be there now. If you don't have it, let me know and I'll send it again.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
And you're gonna let us know when you're in the area.
It sounds like you'd like me to do a compliance inspection over on, is it
13
Rattlesnake?
Rattlesnake. Yep.
Yeah. I will look at my schedule, get back to you on that.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more thing before you go?
Sure.
So we're meeting again in January. Could you give us like where we are with the hours for you when we meet in January, just so?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
Nope.
Then never mind.
Never mind.
Okay, I had an interesting conversation with David today about Chapter 91, in case anybody's interested. Chapter 91 could be a very thorny issue because all the docks around the lake are supposed to have signs on them saying it's okay for you to walk on them.
No, not exactly.
That's what I read in the direct.
No, so it's a good question though, because I've had that question before. So all the docks are supposed to have signs on them. You're right, on either side, and that they should have the license number. That way, if somebody wants to do a compliance inspection or if someone sees a dock, they know instantly whether or not it's been licensed by DEP or not. Do people put those signs on their docks? Despite what the license says, it's actually a licensed condition. They're supposed to have those signs on their docks. A lot of people don't put them on. But anyway, that is a legal requirement for them to have it. It doesn't give the public the right to go on the dock. What it does is,
What do you mean?
if somebody wants to go fishing and they're walking in the shallow
It just
part
said
of
your
the lake,
name's on it, you have to sign it. Yeah.
and they come to a dock and they want to get from one side of the shoreline to the other, and the dock is in the way, instead of them having to wade out into 6 feet deep water to go around the dock, the license requires that either the owner puts steps that allow someone to walk up and over the dock to the other side to keep walking along the shoreline. If not, the license actually has to show a pathway going up into the property that goes up and around the dock and back down the other side. So people technically can keep people off of their docks, except if the license shows a staircase going up and over it for people to walk over. Does that help?
So what Sally said was true.
There's some places where there is no.
Well, somebody can't hang out on somebody's dock and go fishing.
I got it.
They're not allowed to do that.
But I mean, the language that I read this isn't us because it's tidal and so the city theoretically of Gloucester has no right to keep you off low tide property. So you can walk any place you want to along a beach at low tide, whether it's posted, whether it's part of the city of Gloucester, or whatever it is, you can just walk there. It's a lot more complicated on a lake because there's no
low tide,
real fluctuation, unless you have a drawdown. There's no real fluctuation as to what the bank is.
So yes, you just made a helpful illustration, but it's the same principle, which is the high tide line in a coastal setting is analogous to the high water mark in an inland pond or lake. So, yeah, if somebody draws the lake down, you can walk anywhere you want because anything that's below that high tide line or the high water mark is public land it's held in trust by the Commonwealth. So it's not owned, it can't be privately owned. The problem with say Stockbridge Bowl is that it's got water in it all the time, right? So if it happens to be shallow enough right around the perimeter, somebody from the public can walk that whole thing. Nobody has the right to post no trespassing signs so that somebody can't walk in the shallow water right next to their property. That's not allowed. That is public space.
How about fencing that goes down to the water's edge?
As long as that fencing is above the high water mark, that's perfectly legal. I mean, it might require an RDA or an NOI from the Commission under the Wildlife Protection Act, but it's not a Chapter 91 issue at all because the Chapter 91 jurisdiction does not go above the high water mark of Stockbridge Bowl.
But the fence that goes down to the water line, would that not be a barrier to wildlife passage?
Yeah, that might be under the Wetlands Protection Act, but it's not a Chapter 91 issue. Chapter 91 is not really about environmental protection. It's about public rights to coming to and from a water body, public and private rights.
But when I read the regulations on what is required of the harbor master may, it says, issue a permit. It doesn't say that the harbor master must issue an annual permit.
That's right. So the harbor master has discretion, and if the harbor master decides to use his or her discretion to not issue a permit, then somebody can apply to DEP for a license for the same thing.
But you have to have one or the other? You must have.
If you want a structure below the high water mark, you need to have a license or a permit if it's in a great pond.
That means a dock?
Yeah.
Any structure.
Dock, pier, retaining wall, staircase.
Floating?
Floating, yes.
or
Floating is the harbor master. If it's floating, if it's not attached both to the bank and the ground, it's a floating dock. And it can have moorings. Moorings count also. But if it's that, then it's a thing that the harbor master needs to permit. If it's a permanent structure, like it has feet, or it's a building, I was very confused about that.
A retaining wall or some kind of bank stabilization structure, something like that. I mean, buildings, there shouldn't be really any, unless it's related to like operation of a dam or something like that, there should be no buildings built in a great pond. I know there were boathouses built there way before, back in the day, but it'd be tough to get a license to build a boathouse in this day and age.
So the walls and the stairways and the things like that people have built in connection with their reconstruction or whatever should all have been licensed by Chapter 91. Is that right?
If it's below the high water mark, that's correct. Yep. On Stockbridge Bowl.
Like the one that was such a problem.
What about on the river? What about on the Housatonic River?
Yep, that's a Chapter 91 waterway as well. Same thing.
And there's a high water.
Any river?
No, it's there's a list of them. It's the major rivers, the larger ones.
Okay, so not one that's a perennial stream.
Some perennial streams, but not necessarily all of them. Something that's like obviously navigable by canoe or kayak would probably make the list.
Okay. And interestingly enough, on the list, we had a question about Lily Pond, whether that's a great pond. It is not. It's not listed on the list of great ponds.
Okay. That means it's probably less than 10 acres in its natural state.
I don't know. It's just not listed.
Yeah.
Because someone had asked. So it's fascinating reading.
Yeah, I think for the commission's edification, the Wetlands Protection Act is a much stronger statute in terms of wetlands and water body protection than Chapter 91, because it's doing something that's related to environmental protection and not just public access.
So the other thing that I was reading that it was confusing me was don't need that. We talked about, we've had questions about whether the outlet on the lake is riverine. We determined that it was riverine many years ago because it has flow. which made everybody unhappy because it gives the Conservation Commission the 200-foot jurisdiction, even if the town bylaw already gives us 200-foot jurisdiction.
Are you talking about Stockbridge Bowl?
Yes. So the other question is apparently it's 120, it must be 125 feet across from, if you have docks that are, the outlet varies in terms of how wide it is. So if you had docks at exactly opposite sides of the outlet, they would need to be 125 feet apart. That was some regulation that I read somewhere, or we read or found or whatever. But my question is, so then under the Chapter 91, that becomes sort of a whole different thing, yes, no?
There's plenty of exceptions to that down there now.
Yeah.
Offhand, I'm not, the 125-foot
I forget where that came
not
from.
ringing a bell. I'd have to review the regulations again.
We found it somebody found it somewhere and it was there. It has.
I mean, I think as far as where Stockbridge Bowl turns riverine again, I mean, if something is shown on a USGS map as being part of Stockbridge Bowl proper, as opposed to the distributary, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Larry Wag Brook? Larry Wag Brook? Is that what
out of it, goes out of it.
Right, right. I mean, if you look at a USGS map, if there's an obvious distinction between the Stockbridge Bowl and the brook, that's really where the riverfront area should really start, where the generally recognized brook starts.
Which would be the opposite side, the outside of the dam?
It would be the down gradient side of the dam.
But there's also a case to be made that the Indian rocks would be the difference, which are up. Yeah, we'll look at it someday.
Yeah.
Indian rocks would be the difference between where the riverine part of the outlet starts and
I think we should take that dam down.
I think so too. But
drop that water level about
anyway,
8 feet.
So yeah, that the Chapter 91 is a complicated.
It's very complicated.
So is this relevant to business before the commission tonight? Because otherwise I think we should adjourn.
Just information.
Information that we need to know.
We're making a motion to adjourn?
I'd make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good holiday.
Did we make the motion to vote? Okay.
Yes.